My name is Peter Gilbert. I'm the judge for this month's competition, rusted and/or peeling. Just by way of background, I've been taking pictures, I guess, off and on since I was about 14 years age, 57 years ago. Mostly I do landscape and travel, but some street photography. I like the grain vista type landscapes, I guess, but also some of the tighter extraction, if you want to call it, landscapes. Things like, creeks and waterfalls and things. I like abstracts and images with strong design elements to them. One thing I don't like is an image that's over-processed, images that have obvious faults in post-processing. So anyway, let's get started with the entry level. There were 5 images in this group. The first one I'm going to talk about is called Slug Bug, and it's an image of a rusted vehicle. I gave it 9 points. The roof and/or the hood are really the rusted peeling subject matter here, yet the focal point to me is the broken glass. I think the bright weed poking in the center bottom is distracting. A closer in shot of the hood would have improved the image, I think. The next image is Girl by Rusted Door. It's a nice portrait, to me anyway. The subject is the girl, but not the rusted door, which is just incidental to this image. I gave this 10 points. I marked it down for that reason. If it was a portrait, I'd like to have seen the rusted door a bit more out of focus, to be honest. The next image I gave 3rd place to and scored 10 points. Good use of colours. I think it needs a bit tighter cropping. Remove the soft focus at the edges and maybe concentrate on one area of the peeling. I think the area at the bottom left pulls the eye away from the sharper area at the centre right. Useful at any age. 2nd place, 10 points. I think, again, this would have been better with a tighter crop to eliminate that distracting wooden area on the left, as well as the outer focus part of the rope, and also take out the area on the right. It's like a metal section. And also perhaps to remove that piece of the dangling rope that's exiting the image from the center bottom. 1st place, You Can't Buy Old Friends, 12 points. I think it's a nice strong image, good impact, good composition and technique, and I think the colours blend nicely. Let's move on to the intermediate. The first image I'll look at is called Paint Me. I awarded it 7 points. Too little of the image is sharp enough, I think, to keep the viewer's attention. A different shooting angle would have enabled sufficient sharpness, but still provided the context that the subject is a garden bench. Next image, Take a Seat, 7 points. I'm not quite sure what to say about this. It's just not strong enough to me. That rusted piece is just not well placed in the image. Next image, Old Tractor. I gave that 8 points. It's an odd crop, I think, not tight enough on the light, if that was the subject, and it's not enough of the tractor shown to give context otherwise. And the jumble of wires and whatever in the background, in the back right, is kind of distracting. Next image, Fantastic, 9 points. I think the square composition works well for this type of image. I'm not sure the can at the bottom left sort of adds to it though. The bright splashes of sun on the mulch behind it are a bit distracting to me. I'd burn them down. Next image, Exercise Bicycle, 9 points. The title says exercise bike, but to me the subject is the car, especially the front of the car. You might try and crop off the left side right up to the area where that metal L bracket and the brick wall are removed. And the vegetation showing through at the center at the top above the car is also distracting, and you might want to try and clone that out. Next image, Old But Not Forgotten, 9 points. Well, strong HDR like this is just not my thing. I'm sorry about that. I think there were plenty of possible images I can see in this, including the wooden door in the background. I think that sign peeking in from the left is a bit distracting as well. Overall, I think there's a lot, too much going on in this image. Next image, rusty red railroad, 9 points. It's a nice symmetrical shot, it's well composed. It's a pity the light is a bit flat overall and the texture of the bridge is not really strong enough. It'd be great if there was more sort of, strong side light to sort of bring out the texture of the metal. Next image, roosting, 10 points. It's a fun image. I would crop out the little hen on the left. She's looking out of the frame and it's an odd number. I think an even number is always better. So you have 4 of them. So if you crop her out, you get 3. And like I said, she seems to be, well, she's not. She is looking out of the frame. I would crop from the bottom also to take out the lower part of that 2x4 or whatever it is that's running from southwest to northeast. And I think crop a little bit off the bottom. Would also take out a little bit of that brighter area at the bottom left of the image. I think that would strengthen it a bit. Next image is Jack's bus. I gave that 11 points. And I think someone's probably been on a workshop. I've seen this variations of this image about 3 or 4 times, I guess, in the last few months. Is that Mike's flash inside the bus there? It's hard to judge this shot, frankly, against the theme of the contest. It's a great shot of the Milky Way. The bus itself is not particularly sharp, and obviously the focus for this shot was on the Milky Way and the stars. So I think there was wide open shot there, I suppose, or close to it. Let's see what it was. It just says f2.8, I guess. Anyway, there's not quite enough, I don't think, of the bus that's sharp enough. Next image, the decline, 11 points. I think selective focus serves to draw attention to the strongest peeling, but the large out of focus area on the left, the R, also kind of draws my attention perhaps more than it should. I think a tighter crop might improve the image. Anyway, I like the yellow-green contrast. Next image, number 8, honourable mention, 12 points. I see promise here. Perhaps the image could be stronger with a crop to exclude that graffiti. I'm not sure if that looks like Japanese katakana or Korean hangul, whatever it is. It kind of drew my eye, which maybe not what the intention was. So that drew my eye rather than the wood texture and peeling that I assume is the central subject. I do like the little small padlock as a counterpoint there, so maybe a crop off the top a little bit might have helped it. Next image, junkyard truck, 12 points, honourable mention. I can tell this is a Texas truck, evident from the bullet holes. Just enough of the truck to add context, although I might darken down the background peeking through the window at the top. I can see several crops possible here, taking out either the right side quarter or the bottom or both. Next image, 3rd place, serene, or serenity should I say. It's a simple image. I gave it 12 points in 3rd place. It's a simple image, one that tells a story. Is this from a fisherman, fishing chair? I might consider cropping a little bit off the left side. Nice muted colours. Restful image. It's serene, just as the title says. Next image, dilapidated Dodge, 2nd place, 13 points. It's a nice crop, enough to show the context that it's a car, but tight enough that we focus on the peeling fender paint. A strong raking light adds to the texture. And 1st place, 14 points. Door hinge on barn I used to paint. Pleasing image overall. It's the kind of image I like to take, actually. Pleasing, well composed, good technique, nice contrast of colours and textures. So 1st place. Let's move on now to the advanced. First one I'll look at is called The Shell of a Broken House. The cycles are not rusted or peeling. The house is peeling, but is that the subject? I think I would have moved in much closer to get just the building with the green paint and the sign along with the balconies. I'm not a big fan of obvious HDR either, so I kind of marked it down a little bit for that reason. The next image is circa 1960, 8 points. I have to confess I'm kind of lost in this image. A lot of it looks to me to be unsharp, and there's no real contrasting element to hold the eye. Hard for me to tell whether there's any peeling of anything going on or whether it's just vegetation of some sort. I'm not sure what it is. The next image, Tuscan Door, gave this a score of 9. Pleasing colours. It might look a bit better straightened, a bit better in post. I think I might have said I'm an engineer. I kind of like symmetry and stuff that's supposed to be parallel, should be, etc. I would crop out the brickwork at the right. If the original image has more at the top, I think it'll be interesting to see the top edge of that horizontal piece at the top of the door. Perhaps that does exist in the original image. Maybe it was tried to and straightened in the transform tool or whatever, and it cropped down on you a little bit. If you need be, move the image up a bit and keep the top of the door in a little bit, I think. The next image is called After Shipwreck. Gave that 10 points. Pretty strong image, good impact and well exposed. But the horizon is not level. Next image, 2 green doors. I give that 10 points. Having 2 subjects in most cases is a little harder to pull off successfully. I guess if you have a lot of tension from, being in opposite corners and different sizes or whatever, or different weights, that might help. But I think here they're kind of similar in size, similar in tone, colour. It's a little harder to pull that off. I might have moved in closer and concentrated just on the wooden door. Next image, Allen 1910 Railroad Bridge, 10 points. I think that colourful graffiti overwhelms the subject here. It's all about the graffiti and not the rusting and peeling. I would crop in off the left up to the edge of the bridge diagonal piece at least. And as always with these types of images, with kind of leading edges, strong leading line, you need something in the back to sort of pull the eye back, I think, rather than just vegetation. Again, a bit more stronger side light would have helped it as well, I think. Next image, A Window to the Past. I gave it 11 points. It's a simple composition, well exposed, soft colour palette. Looks like there might be a reflection of trees in the window on the right, which I would try and clone out. And confess that might be a little hard, but it might be worth a shot to see if you can do something with it. I assume that the window shape is as shown, and it's not just lens distortion or a kind of an off-kilter camera angle, but kind of adds a little bit to the image, I suppose, if it's an old window that's not quite square. Next image, having fun with an old car. Well, sure is a lot of fun. I gave it 12 points. Honourable mention. Very clever image. I have to confess I would not have the patience to make a shot like this. The only problem is it doesn't particularly match the contest theme as well as some of the other images in this group. It must have taken quite a while to get all of the separate images composited correctly, so well done on that. Was there really some leaves poking through the lady's neck in the centre back? But anyway, it's a fun image. It's a keeper for you, I'm sure. Next image, Spring and Cable, 12 points. Honourable mention. Strong impact. Maybe could have been a little sharper on the subject. The background seems to have been blurred excessively in post. That's my only real criticism of it. Colorado fall scenery viewed from a rusted car, 13 points. Third place, it's a novel approach, well executed, great exposure and composition. The only thing I would consider changing is to burn down the shiny metal sunlit piece at the bottom centre. I'm not sure if that was a running rail or running board on the side of the truck or whatever, but it's a little bright and a little distracting. Peeling patina, 13 points. Second place, strong composition. Perhaps burning down the vegetation at the top and the top left would strengthen the image a little bit. I would also have tried to remove that piece of metal hoop peeking in at the bottom right. I'm not sure how, averse you are to doing some gardening in these kinds of images, but it might have been possible to move it out of the way without being obvious. Next image could use a second coat. 14 points. First place, it's a symmetrical composition. I'll have some more to say about that in a bit. Pleasing colour set. Brown, gold, blue, always a winning combination in my view. I might try a second version with the centre of that cross, it's right in the middle of the image. You might try shifting that down a little bit and to the right. Maybe that would sort of give you a variation and you can decide which one you like best. I think I would have preferred it just a little bit off-centre. Master category. These are the big guns, huh? The first image, rust on wheels with plants, gave this 8 points. Well, rust on wheels would have done it for me with just a smaller amount of the plants and a less distracting background. Looks to have been blurred in post, I guess. Next image, old farm shed, gave this 8 points also. Not really close enough to me to show the theme. Plenty of possible subjects with this shed. I'm not seeing any real impact in this particular image. I would lift the shadows a little bit too. Next image, rusty orange, 9 points. First impression, of course, is it's very contrasty and saturated, perhaps too much so in my view. It does grab your attention, I'll give you that. Does that really show the rusted and peeling, or is it just the colour? The bright area at the top is kind of distracting. It's an interesting composition. The front edge of that door appears to cut the image in half when you kind of look at it for a little bit. I'm not sure that's totally a bad thing. It's just, might have been interesting to sort of adjust the crop a little bit or the viewpoint to maybe move that off center just a little bit. Next image, Ain't No Good No More, 10 points. Interesting subject. I think it's let down a bit because the lighting is very flat and the subject is not as sharp as I would hope to see. Next image, 10 points. Well, I guess this is a good test of lens distortion anyway. Good composition and technique, but I don't get a strong connection to this image, to be honest with you. Not enough impact. Next image, table scraps. I gave this 11 points. I'm assuming this is a kind of a tabletop construction. In my view, the bright glass pieces distract in a big way. The lighting is somewhat flat. Some strong sidelight to enhance the texture in the metal would have been nice to see. At least take out that large moon-shaped piece of glass or whatever it is on the left. Next image, It's Seen Better Days. I gave this 11 points. It's a nice snappy image. It's a good composition, except for the horizon. Once again, the image would be perhaps stronger, a little closer up. I can see a better picture perhaps after you've taken this shot. I would have gone in and taken close-ups of the rusty stack area and the stern area of the boat. That kind of looks interesting as well. Next image, Rusted and Peeling Ship. I have this 11 points. Again, I think I might have moved in a little closer if it was possible. I think the rope on the left kind of cuts the image in two. I would probably try to crop out a little bit on the right, including that other rope, and also part of the empty dock area at the bottom right. Next image, Mr. Rusty Mooring, 11 points. I gave this one an honourable mention. This might work better as a square crop to remove the right side on the current image. I guess the focus is intended to be on the mooring, but that kind of large rock in the top right of the image kind of draws you a little bit to it. I don't mind the rust stain at the bottom. I think that adds to it quite a bit. But I would crop out a little bit on the right, or at least on the top. The next image, Old Spittoon, 13 points. Also honourable mention. It's a strong image, great tones and lighting. I love black and whites, or monotone. It doesn't really comport with the theme of the contest perhaps as well as some of the other images though. I have to confess if this was an open competition, this might have been a strong contender for Best in Show. Next image, Rusted and Peeling Icelandic Boatyard. Third place, 13 points. I think the shape of the boat adds strong impact. The processing is excellent. I'm a bit worried by the curved horizon at the right, and maybe that's just me being the engineer again. Perhaps the image would be just as strong with a crop right at the stern of the boat or just inside it. And I hope you also took a closer shot of that green rope at the porthole. That was a shot there as well. Next shot, rust splatters. Second place, 13 points. Very strong image. The only negative I can see is it seems to be slightly less sharp on the left side. Maybe the camera was not square on to the subject. Seen better days. 14 points. First place. This is a strong image. It's well composed, strong impact. Perhaps if there'd been some shadows to create more contrast, would have improved it a bit. Perhaps a fill flash from the top right. Which I guess brings me to the best of show. And I awarded the best of show to the image in the advanced group. Could use a second coat. It's just a very pleasing image to me. It's just very restful and still it grabs you. There's enough detail, I think, in the metal parts. And overall, it's a great image. I really like it. So that best of show. All right, well, that wraps it up for me, I guess. So I hope I can survive after you get to see me again. Thanks.